I'm Marc. Welcome to my book review. Why do I do this? Well, considering the wide range of management books, but also other how-to kind of books, I find it sometimes difficult to get to the right book. So therefore I thought I publish more detailed reviews of those books that I really enjoyed reading and where I think I learned something from. Today I want to talk about a book from Adam Grant. Adam Grant is an organizational psychologist, a professor at Wharton Business School, at Wharton School, and he talks about the concept of rethinking. So the book title Think Again and the concept of rethinking. What is this book about? So about the value of acknowledging things that we do not know. It's also not only from professional view talking about rethinking, but also from a private and personal side. And it's not looking at the concept of rethinking from an individual view. It also considers interpersonal and collective relationships, and basically how rethinking can help to get better results, broader agreements in conflicting situations. Why do I think this book is worth to read? Well, because we get more and more influenced, as we all know, by social media. Often when you type something into Google, you get all the listed results, and often you are surprised because a lot of information that you get is anyway what you already thought about, and this gives you kind of reconfirmation. So it's just helping to it's just matching your preferences, but you're not really getting a broader view. And this is, I think, important to build a real opinion, for example, in political discussions. In addition, I have the perception that we tend to become more aggressive, fighting for our opinions rather than being open for constructive dialogue. This when it comes to political debates. For example, we live at the moment in the US, and the conflict between Republicans and Democrats is sometimes really frightening, I have to say. But also disputes between friends, within families about right measures against COVID, especially when it comes to the benefit of vaccinations. But also in the professional world, with people now working since 2 years from home, losing the personal connection to their colleagues, the famous coffee chat, I see more and more an exchange, or I would say sometimes even a battle of different opinions, rather than an open dialogue to find the best solution to often very complex business problems. So for me personally, I can sometimes have a very strong opinion, being stubborn, and rather go fast than evaluate all aspects. And that's why I thought this book might help me and that I can learn something out of it. So how is this book structured? The book consists of 4 parts: individual rethinking, interpersonal rethinking, collective rethinking, and it ends with a conclusion. The first part explains how we can learn to be more open as an individual. One core concept introduced is scientific thinking, meaning the formulation of hypotheses, which are then tested with data, and if not confirmed, we reformulate our strategies and resulting hypotheses. Another concept related to this is the so-called rethinking cycle in comparison to an overconfidence cycle, which often just seeks reconfirmation of our own existing views. And I mean, being self-critical, I think I also trapped often in my past in this overconfidence cycle, which is something definitely not helping to find better solutions. It also describes the joy of being wrong and how we can overcome our inner dictator. And I really like this term, inner dictator, and you will find it throughout the books. There are, especially for me, I learned a lot also from that aspect. So the inner dictator who comes into play when our own opinions are threatened. Oh my God. So last but not least, the difference between a task and a relationship conflict. After mastering the individual capability to rethink and to learn more about that, the book continues with the interpersonal part in the second field. How to encourage others to open their minds and rethink often strong own opinions. Grant explains that fact-based arguments do not necessarily help to convince others, as it often leads to a defense mode or leads to political behavior, meaning they tell us what we want, our counterparts, but not that the opinion really changed. And I also like the term logic bully, but also the analogy of a debate, of a good debate with a dancing couple, where each one has to adapt to the moves of the other to get into rhythm. Lots of examples, how skilled negotiators work, how people react in rivalry situations, how stereotypes are formed, help to understand the tools he is describing to encourage rethinking. For example, applying an interview style or influential listening. Part 3 is then about how we can motivate not just a direct discussion partner, but what makes groups to rethink their opinions. For example, about topics, big topics like immigration, death penalty, or climate change. Grant's main advice is that we have to look at complex problems from different angles and avoid to oversimplify. This in order to avoid polarization of problems, which often limits the willingness to rethink. As in previous parts, several concepts, tools are presented, and I like the comparison between perspective taking and perspective seeking theory. It basically says that instead of drawing conclusions based on minimal information, it is better to gain deeper insights into others' viewpoints, asking them, testing own hypotheses, and revising them based on information gathered. Furthermore, Grant describes the difference between productive and unproductive conversations, the value of feedback, and how rethinking and rework can improve working results. One other interesting aspect in part 3 is the difference between performance and learning cultures, and how performance cultures can undermine psychological safety, which can lead to an atmosphere where people are afraid to talk about own failures and lose confidence in their own expertise. And of course, that's very dangerous. If you don't want to talk about, or if you're afraid to talk about failure, you are also not talking about what can be done differently and what can improve. So really nice and eye-opening aspects in this book. The book ends with the conclusion part and summarizes previous parts. It explains the impact of rethinking on happiness in personal but also professional life. And it also contains a list of 30 actions that you can apply, maybe not all, but some easy actions that you can apply, and which is a great summary of the overall book. So what did I like about the book? And as I said many times now, I really like the examples Grant provided, which really helped to understand his concepts. For example, the fireman at the beginning of the book who survived a really bad fire in Australia by applying a complete new solution approach, which is contradictory of what you would usually do in a fire situation. The cover of the book gives a little bit a hint of what he was doing. Or also the vaccination whisperer who managed to convince a mother to get her kids vaccinated. I also like the structure of the book. It's very logical in these 4 parts. And also at the end, the 30 actions were a great closure of the book, because that's something you can easily read again and again. However, I also think there are some limitations, because this book and the concept of rethinking is sometimes a bit theoretical, and it's a little bit academical, because we all know sometimes it's more important to be fast, and you don't have the time to rethink again and again, coming to the 100% solution. Especially in my field where I work in supply chain, sometimes it's better to apply the second or third best solution, but to do something, to take action, and to not lose time. Also in personal life, I think some friends that I know from studies, they got caught in all these academic options that you have, or professional options, and at the end they ended up doing a lot of things but nothing really right. Still, I believe the concept of rethinking has a big benefit, and it's more a matter of when and how do I apply it, how do I allocate my resources efficiently, and rethink in many situations. So from a scale from 1 to 10, I would give it an 8, which is a pretty high rating, I would say. It's my first book review, but I try to be conservative in my ratings, but still this book deserves an 8. I would appreciate if you can give me a thumbs up when you like this review, or also give me some hints and remarks in the comment section, because I want to do a bit more, and of course I want to adapt my style and I want to learn of the things that I probably don't know. So happy and appreciate your advice and comments. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.